Ram Ramji, welcome back to Reality Check with Arvind Swaminathan. Interesting this time, really interesting. And it's about time all us non-Muslims woke up. Last night, we heard this news that the Supreme Court has said that Muslim women can also go to the courts and demand and expect payment of maintenance or alimony or whatever, what have you, in the same way as all other women. The one thing it does is it makes it a level playing field for all women folk in India. Hitherto, all Muslims had been out of the equality net because under Sharia law, it seems, a Muslim man, after 3 months, need not pay any maintenance whatsoever to his divorced ex-wife. And if she gets custody of the children, he doesn't have to pay for their maintenance or upkeep either. Now, this is a game changer. Because now this brings Muslim women level with all other women folk in India. For the first time, they get what the Constitution guarantees them as fundamental right, that is equality. Something they have never had before. Now, it begs the question, what have we been living on all these years, since 1947? You see, Nehru brought in a Hindu civil code. Why? Muslims are out of this. They don't come under it because the law says Hindu civil code. Even though the Constitution demands a uniform civil code, Nehru said, Constitution is nothing. I'm going to put in a Hindu civil code. The Constituent Assembly had asked him to put in implement a uniform civil code. He refused. His intentions were clear. 1956, not only did he bring in this Hindu civil code, but he also divided India on a linguistic basis, i.e. states based on language. And now we got to the ludicrous stage where one state has been split into 2 states with the same language, meaning Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. What kind of nonsense is this? Before long, we'll end up with statehood for Connaught Place in Delhi, or the housing colony where I reside, statehood for Anand Lok. Is this what we are looking into? Carrying on from there, Indira Gandhi in 1974 recognized the Muslim Personal Law and the Muslim Personal Law Board. Think about that. That means Muslims decide under which law they may be tried. They could go in for the Indian Penal Code or IPC or Muslim law, which again doesn't make sense. And the most diabolical law of all, it made it very clear that if you're not a Muslim, you're not welcome in India. How? You remember the infamous Waqf Act 1995. They could just go anywhere, put their finger on any property and say, this is Waqf property, and it became Waqf property. Now this meant they could take over the whole of this country without paying anything for it. And in 30 years, they became the largest holders of property or land in India. third only to the railways and the defense services. Fortunately now, the Supreme Court has decreed that they have to produce papers and documents to show that it really is gifted to them, and that it was gifted to them by a person who owned that property, which is a bit of relief, because earlier, the moment they put their finger on that piece of land and said this is Waqf property, there was only one place you could go for redressal. You could not go to the Sessions Court, you could not go to the District Court, you could not go to the High Court, and you could not go to the Supreme Court. You had to go to the Waqf Tribunal. 7-member bench, all Muslims. How much of a chance would you have stood to get any justice? Remember that. Now, you look at each individual law, it may mean nothing. Well, it's for Muslims, it doesn't concern us. And yet, something else which came up, which drove Mr. Yogi Adityanath ji mad. He went wild. Halal certification. Now this is very strange indeed. In an Islamic country, okay, you can do it. But in a non-Islamic country, why does everything have to be halal certified? I mean, things like potato chips, bhujia, chocolates, cement, building materials. Now, what kind of nonsense is this? And we in India have been paying, well, what amounts to a halal tax or a jizya tax. And the amount involved was 2 to 2.5 lakh crores per annum. It was going to mainly to the Jamaat or Jamiat Ulema Hind. No taxes were being paid on it. Now you understand where they got all this money from, for all this training in millions, thousands of madrasas, thousands of mosques all over the place. Why? Why can Muslims not leave other people alone to live in their own land? Now, this is something I've never been able to understand. You see, there is a certain amount of cunning or craftiness involved. It's not done all at once, no. Slowly, in dribs, in little bits. So that most of us are lulled into this fool's paradise where we believe, it's to do with Muslims, it doesn't concern us. Muslims are a small bunch anyway. And yet, are they? You see, once the Hindu civil code came into being, Muslims ran riot. The result of all this and the family planning campaign over the decades has meant all the other communities have understood, look, we have to control our population. But not Muslims. And what is the result? From less than 20 million in 1947, they've gone up to over 200 million. A factor of 1:10. They've multiplied 10 times. Plus, 60 to 70 million Bangladeshis have come in to swell their numbers. Now think about it, that's a huge number. All other denominations have increased in number from just over 330 million in 1947 to just around 1.1 billion. That's a factor of 1 to just over 3. So, for every one non-Muslim in 1947, there are now 3.1 non-Muslims. Whereas where Muslims are concerned, 1 in 1947, 10 today. And that does not include the Bangladeshis. And all these Bangladeshis are illegal migrants. Let's get that straight. which means it is a planned, a sort of creeping cancer to take over this country and turn it into an Islamic country. And you know what happens when an Islamic country takes over? Especially Quranic people who have no idea on what to do, how to develop a nation. You have a look at any of them. The whole of the Middle East, if they didn't have oil, they'd be paupers. You see all of North Africa, whether it's Tunisia or Egypt or Algeria, what do they really have? Or Morocco, all Islamic countries. The one that was trying to develop have been destroyed. That's Libya. And that too was based on oil. I shudder to think what will happen if this country, i.e. India, becomes Islamic. You see, we have been, as I said, it doesn't concern us, it's Muslim law. Now, if you take each one of these instances, they're meaningless. Join the dots and you see the picture. You think, Hindu civil code. There's another thing which Nehru brought in. He recognized the right to convert. Now, this is something most of us today are just not aware of. And Muslims do use every trick in the trade or in the book to convert. Whether it's honey traps, whether it's love jihad, whether it's financial inducements, any other way, or threats of eviction and things like this, thanks to the Waqf Act of 1995. They simply go to these tribal areas and say, look, this is Waqf land, get out. And they say, well, where will we go? What will we do? Is there no way we can stay? Well, there is one, convert to Islam. That and Halal Certification means that we are paying a huge tax. Because let's face it, all these companies which go in and get a Halal certificate, pay these people for that certificate, and then they charge all of the people who buy their products. And if they pay 1 rupee to the Halal certification scheme, they will get 100 back from the public. Galloping or rampant inflation, higher and higher prices. Now see, this is that Nehru Gandhi family right the way through. Nehru, Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi and his overturning or overriding or overruling the Supreme Court judgment. That's a serious thing. When the rule of law or Indian law is superseded by Sharia law. With that one act which Rajiv Gandhi brought in, we should have been really frightened. We should have been wide awake by then. Because this was Sharia law taking over. And it has taken over, let's face that. You go through all this, the Waqf Act 1995, that was the culmination of the whole thing. They tried to bring in one other act, or the UPA government did in 2013, but the BJP created such a rumpus that it had to be withdrawn. In effect, that particular law meant that if there were ever a riot, you couldn't arrest a Muslim for it. And on the other hand, if a Muslim said, so-and-so was rioting on that day, that guy gets put into prison and they throw the key away. Such is the draconian spirit in which this country has been governed by the Congress party and particularly that family. Because remember, the UPA government was run by Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi, not Mr. Manmohan Singh. Here again, how did Rahul Gandhi and the Congress party and the SP party get so many seats in UP? You remember just after the election results were announced, hordes of Muslim women wandered into Congress offices in Lucknow and in Bangalore and such places and demanded what? 8,500 rupees in their bank accounts every month, as promised by Rahul Gandhi. You know, the khada khat. Where was he going to get the money from? Quite apart from the fact this is open, blatant bribery and corruption. He was trying to buy votes. He said, I am corrupt, you become corrupt with me. And you saw the result. Congress from 52 suddenly went up to 99 victories. I mean, how low can we get? And yet, the Congress party and the SP party and TMC keep saying the BJP is dividing this country. What kind of nonsense is that? The BJP has tried to take everybody along. And the Congress and the SP and everybody else, Muslims and their own little community. SP is the Yadavs and Muslims. Congress is Muslims. And see what they're doing in Bangalore. To try and keep those election promises, horrendous taxes are being raised. Petrol prices have been increased. Diesel prices have been increased. And Hindu, you know, all these donations collected in Hindu temples, there's a tax on that. But not on donations to Muslim shrines. Why? And you're saying that the BJP is divisive? The BJP is dividing India? No. Karnataka government is ramming into our heads that if you want help from the government, get out of being a Hindu, become a Muslim or a Christian. You will get no help, you will get fleeced, you will get overtaxed if you remain a Hindu. The message is clear, loud and clear. And now Rahul Gandhi gets up in Parliament and says, Hindus are violence seekers, or they spread violence. Hindus spread lies, and he is the biggest liar of all. I mean, Congress policy is based on lies. It's a factory that produces lies by the dozen, every minute. There's no integrity there, there's no honesty, nothing. Rahul Gandhi has literally told the world, when he went to places like Chatham House and other places in the UK and the US, what is the USA doing? What is the EU doing? Democracy is in danger. It is from people like himself. Because he doesn't practice democracy, he just practices bribery and corruption. Let's get that straight. And it's all in favor of Muslims. He's killing democracy. How? By making Muslims the elite. 20% are kicking the 80% around. Because the Nehru-Gandhi family law says Muslims are to be favored and Hindus are to be kicked around. And they're doing it. You see what's happening in West Bengal, Kerala, Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu, openly they say, Sanatan Dharma, Hindus, that religion is to be eradicated, like COVID or cholera or typhoid. I mean, how low can you get? And then you say, equality. And we're a secular nation. How? Anyway, just going back to this other thing. with all these laws that came in over a period of time, not all together, they have been slowly bringing Sharia law into force in India. And we don't even realize it. Hindu civil code, Muslim personal law, Shabano case, where the Supreme Court is overruled by Rajiv Gandhi. Waqf Act 1995. And then, of course, Halal Certification. You take them all together, join the dots, and you begin to understand. Sharia law has been in force in India for at least 2, if not 3 decades. And we haven't even woken up to that fact. Come on, folks, let's get real. Muslims, you better understand, if you want Sharia law, Pakistan or Bangladesh was made for you. Please leave. If you stay in India, be a responsible citizen of India. None of this 10 or 20 children per family. Stick to 1 or 2. Those norms are to be applied to Muslims as well. And please, none of this halal certification or jizya tax on non-Muslims. You want that? Please go to Afghanistan or Pakistan or Bangladesh. Not here. We are not going to pay you a hefty tax for being in our country. And if you believe you're a Muslim first and anything else afterward, please leave. You don't belong here. This is not a Muslim country. Do not try to turn it into one. We will not be amused. Let's get that straight. There are a whole lot of questions I would like to ask about Islam, but most Muslims don't want to know. In any case, please folks, wakey wakey, rise and shine. We better wake up to stark reality. Do we want India to be an Islamic nation? Or should we continue to be a non-Islamic nation? That's all. There is no other alternative. One or the other. There is no third alternative. Hinduism has never tried to convert. It simply says, practice your own religion. Now the Supreme Court has come out with one other judgment. Again, I think yesterday. No, not Supreme Court. I think it's the Allahabad High Court that said, you may practice your religion here, any religion, propagate it, but that does not automatically give you the right to convert other people to your religion. That is not a right. Do not try it. Stick to your own family, your own bunch. Leave other people alone. Let's get that straight. This country, the legal system, does not permit it. Don't presume it does. It doesn't. Sorry folks, it may be a short one, but it's something you must think about very carefully and think a long, hard look at this. It's something which concerns us all, and it's sitting on top of on our heads. It's a sword, a Damocles sword. It can hit any time. I know all these madrasas and mosques all over the place. Many of them are real arsenals full of weapons, whether it's swords, real swords or homemade ones, whether they're guns, country pistols or foreign-made pistols, assault rifles or even machine guns. It means Muslims are preparing for something big. And it's time we woke up to these facts. And Mr. Modi, you better get your act together and show us that you have the guts to do something. Two things you have to do now. One, Waqf Act 1995 must be repealed, and all land confiscated by them is to be given back to previous owners. Let's get that straight. You better do it now. Two, a uniform civil code as per Article 44 of the Constitution of India. Please get it enacted and implemented now. The Supreme Court has given you a very good start when they have said, or when they brought Muslim women in line with all other women and given them equality. They've made them equal. This is the time to bring in a uniform civil code. If Muslims want to scream about it, that's their tough luck. Pakistan and Bangladesh were made for them. Please go there. Remember, they must live under the laws of the land in which they reside. That is part of their religion, like it or not. If you don't like it, tough. Do not do what you're trying to do in the UK and demanding Sharia law and demanding this, that and the other. You know what happened in France? You know what's happened in countries like Norway? Well, you're finding out. Any such thing, you're getting deported. Well, it might happen here. We don't want to. Don't make us do it. Well, folks, think seriously. Take a good, long, hard look at what I've said. Because it may sound small or trivial, but it's like a man-eater coming up behind us. We don't know he's there. When it pounces, it's too late. Turn around, have a good look, and do the needful. Well, folks, please send this message out wherever you can to everybody, because it's something that needs real hard thinking about and acting on. Ciao.